So it's an end of an era in a lot of respects. Cooper Kupp is going to be traded by the Rams. We don't know who it's going to be or when it is going to be, but it is going to happen. I'll have my thoughts. It's definitely kind of a bittersweet moment, I think. I think in a lot of respects, Cooper Kupp obviously has been just a model of consistency. He's been an absolute pro, but he has not been worth the contract that he was given. And so I think the Rams, unfortunately, this is a business, and they had to make a business decision here. I don't know what went down with those talks. I'm not going to pretend to know. What I do know is that it ultimately led to Cooper Kupp being informed that the team is going to seek a trade, and he is not seeking a trade. So he goes on to say, and I'll bring it up here. He goes on to say that basically he doesn't want this. He disagrees with it. I mean, you can see right here, I don't agree with the decision and always believed it was going to begin and end in LA. So I feel for him, man. I do. I don't think this is an easy thing. Definitely don't think it's an easy thing. It's not. You win a Super Bowl with a team. You're drafted by a team. You stick with the team. You go through a few bumps and bruises along the way. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you this is the right decision. It sucks to say. I'll tell you this right now. But you have to take feelings out of this. This is the right move. The Rams are on the hook for $29 million in cap for him. He is not worth $29 million. That's more than potentially Tee Higgins is going to get on the open market average annual. So that cap hit is just not, it's not possible to take that on. Adam Schefter here, now that the Rams have said they will look to trade Cooper Kupp, here is the cost. If Kupp is traded, his new team would inherit his $20 million salary in 2025, $7.5 million roster bonus plus $12.5 million base, and $19.85 million in 2026 unless his contract is renegotiated. So I'll tell you this right now, okay? I'm not excited about this, okay? I'm not excited to lose a player this caliber. I'm not excited because of what he means to not just the Rams right now, but what he's meant throughout his career. But I'll tell you right now, man, I've gotten used to this. I just have. I mean, let's call it like it is. It's not just Cooper Kupp. It was Robert Woods, who has the signed football right behind this JE Live logo here. Robert Woods, I met in person. He acknowledged my existence. He said he read my article I wrote about him on Downtown Rams. And Aaron Donald dropped that specific meeting, that business expo that I was at. Aaron Donald called out of it. Robert Woods was the one that was there. And Robert Woods, unfortunately, after meeting him and getting the signed football and the picture and everything that he went through and the torn ACL, his last game for the Rams, he didn't get to choose. It wasn't the Super Bowl. His last game for the Rams was the game before he tore his ACL in practice. That was it. He never played again. So it's not just Cooper Kupp who suffers the unfortunate news here. Cooper Kupp's been through this. Todd Gurley was released, was not traded, released, outright cut after being arguably the best offensive player in the NFL 2 years in a row. Isaac Bruce played for the 49ers. Torrey Holt went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This happens. It's unfortunate. Man, I watched Danny Amendola put his body on the line for an awful St. Louis Rams team, and then he goes to the Patriots and wins the Super Bowl. I watched Chris Long leave this organization, James Laurinaitis. There have been a lot of talented players that were heart and soul type players, that were fan favorite type of players that have left this organization for better or for worse, for whether it was their decision or not. That's honestly, in a lot of respects, why I don't really respect the what Deshaun Jackson did, asking out of an 8-0 team, what Cam Akers did, basically begging to be traded as soon as he lost the starting job. I don't like those things, and I lose respect for those people because you see guys like Cooper Kupp who still wanted to stay. Cooper Kupp, according to this, I mean, again, it could be different, right? Could be wrong on this. Let's go back a sec. Cooper Kupp here. I was informed that the team will be seeking a trade immediately. and will be working with me and my family to find the right place to continue competing for championships. I don't agree with the decision and always believed it was going to begin and end in LA. This isn't somebody that is begging to be traded. This is somebody that wants to stay. And I'm sure he probably, I don't want to speak for him, and I definitely don't know what went down, but I'm sure he asked to, he worked with them in some capacity for a pay cut. But the reality is this is the right decision for the Rams. It is a tough sledding, type of move here. It's not easy. He has relationships with Stafford. He has a relationship with Puka Nacua. And, of course, Sean McVay. Les Snead was part of, how he got there. He's got relationships all over the place. Okay? All over the place. But this is what had to happen. That $29 million in cap space, even if you mess around with it, it's too much. And the Rams, they know they're close. And they know they need to get over the hump. And unfortunately, Cooper Kupp's injuries have really hurt his production. He's still a good player. I have no doubt he can go over 1,000 yards if given the opportunity and he stays healthy. He would have. If he stayed healthy this year, he goes over 1,000. But is he the player that you're paying top dollar to? He's not. He's just not. And that's okay. But this is what has to happen. So be upset for him, be sad for him, but also understand the Rams are not the bad guy here, and neither is Cooper Kupp. There's no bad guy in this scenario. This is a business. And by the way, whether I agree with it or not, this is the NFL salary cap. And I've always said for the longest time, I think the salary cap needs to have a soft cap because the soft cap would essentially promote teams to be able to bring back their guys and go over the cap space in order to bring back their guys. There isn't a soft salary cap. It is a hard salary cap, take it or leave it. And if you are over the cap, you can't be over the cap. In the NBA, you can sign guys on your roster. It's one of the only things the NBA has on the NFL is that they have a soft salary cap. The rest of it can pretty much go to hell. But truthfully, that's how I feel. So Cooper Kupp was going to be $29.7 million on the cap, the second highest cap number on the roster. If he's cut before June 1st, the Rams will incur a $22.2 million dead money hit and only save $7.5 million. So it wasn't as simple as, we'll just cut him. They're trying to avoid that while also trying to get Cooper Kupp in the right position because they don't want to just trade him for the highest bidder. And that's where it comes in here on this channel that I will never lie to you guys in this sense. You are not going to see a big haul for Cooper Kupp. I am telling you this right now. He is not going to give much. You're not going to get a third-round pick. You're not going to get a fourth-round pick. You're not going to get a really high pick. You are going to likely get one of those sixth-round or seventh-round pick swaps, okay? It's going to be no different than Robert Woods. I'm telling you that right now. Do not get your hopes up. This is a money move. It's that simple. There's no other way to put it. It's sad, and I totally understand it, but this is a money move. They're not doing this because they dislike the player. They're not doing this because he's a locker room cancer. This is essentially a money move. That is what is happening. Cooper Kupp will save you $12.5 million approximately if you trade him before June 1st. You will incur $17.2 million in dead money, but dead money, what does that mean? It's money that's already been paid that you don't get in cap space. So it's actually smart because you can hear $17 million dead money and you're like, oh, that sounds terrible. They're not taking away $17 million from your cap space. The $17 million was already paid. So $17 million of the $29.7 million you can't get back, but you can get back $12.5. And if you want to sit here and say, 12.5, I'd rather have Cooper Kupp, I'll tell you right now, 12.5 can get you in a really good position. It might be the difference between you being able to pay a guy like, a Jamie Sherwood, or, I know some of you love Nick Bolton. You could go out and get somebody like that with that money, as opposed to maybe not being able to do that. Or it might be able to allow you to facilitate a trade. Maybe now instead of, you having a hard time getting a guy like Garrett Wilson or getting somebody like that, now you can make that trade. $12.5 million is not pocket change. That is significant. And The whole point in doing this and why he said immediately is because pre-June 1st gives you that. Now, post-June 1st, you might say, why not post-June 1st? It would only be $9 million against the cap if they trade him away, and the Rams would save $20 million. Well, guess what? The Rams wouldn't save $20 million. That would be broken up across 2 years. Post-June 1st, you can't use post-June 1st funds. You can't use that cap dollar savings for this offseason. That's the thing. Wow. Okay, let's get into super chats on that note. Wow, long list. Everyone drop a W in the chat for long list. I really appreciate the $250 super chat that came out of nowhere. You guys are freaking awesome. And long list, I really appreciate you. Let's all drop a W in the chat for long list because holy hell, did not see that one coming. I love Kupp, but his role is redundant to Puka. Whittington is the quick crossing guy that can play block. Rams need an OBJ type top one guy. Wiggins. Or do you mean Higgins? But I guess you could spell it Wiggins with the W. The W that you got, yeah, Wiggins. Yeah, honestly, I got to be honest with you. I think this makes a lot of sense from a football perspective, too. And I totally agree, and I get what you're saying. Kupp, Puka, and Whittington are kind of all redundant in a sense. Now, Puka can play a little bit of a different role. Kupp was kind of, and I kept saying this, and people got offended by it, but I kept telling you, he is not winning on the horizontal plane. He's winning on the vertical plane. He's winning downfield. He's actually been their deep threat, for the last, let's just say, year, right? So now you have to figure that, and you have to go out and you have to get yourself an X receiver, a guy that can really stretch out the field, a guy that can be your big play threat. Because Puka Nacua is your big play threat because he can win all over the field. But you need a guy that's going to win vertically, okay? And don't get me wrong, Puka Nacua can win vertically, but he's better when you're using him in the soft, finding the soft spot in the zone, attacking man-to-man, quick slants, bubble screen. He can win after the catch. He can block like a tight end. That is how you want to use Puka Nacua. But, as far as that X receiver, yes, T. Higgins makes sense. Josh Palmer to a degree, although he wouldn't be a big name. So fair warning, if you're hoping for a big name, Josh Palmer is not that. He's a guy that I think will be a much better option than maybe people realize. But then you have other guys. You have Golden from Texas, the wide receiver. You got, guys in the draft as well. So there are definitely some different options here. If Garrett Wilson becomes available, he's an option. Chris Olave, I've mentioned him. If the Saints were willing to trade him away, he is an option. So there are definitely some different options. Totally agree with you. I love Kupp, but the role does become redundant. Puka Nacua can do everything, and that's just the reality of it. And I do want Whittington starting, to your point, quick crossing, all that stuff, and can block very well. So having those two guys is really going to go a long way. Rams still need to fill because they don't have a lot of wide receivers on the roster. Tutu Atwell's a free agent. Demarcus Robinson's a free agent. Do you bring one of those guys back? I don't know. Personally, my dream would be to go out there and trade for Garrett Wilson or, get a T. Higgins. Also bring in Josh Palmer, right? So you have those four guys. You feel really good about it. Then get a tight end, whether that's Colston Loveland out of Michigan, that Arroyo kid that everyone's talking about, out of Miami, Fannin, from I think it's Bowling Green, or, you go out and maybe you trade for an Njoku or a Mark Andrews or somebody like that. I've said it and I've maintained it. The focus needs to be this offense. It is that cut and dry. That's why I'm not focusing much on the defense, and it's why I'll do a video on it. I don't want to get too much into it, but no, I'm not interested in trading for Myles Garrett. So before anybody asks me that, I'm not at all interested in trading for Myles Garrett because it's not about, I don't want talent, right? Some people might hear that and be like, oh, you don't want an elite pass rusher, maybe the best in the league. No, what I don't want is that you have a cap space that is allocated around essentially you have X amount of value that you can spend. So when you go out and get a Myles Garrett, when you don't need to spend that, you're weaker at another spot. That's what people don't look at. They're just like, go out and get the superstar. Doesn't matter if he's a need or not. But when you go out and you get a Myles Garrett, well, guess what? Now you're spending $28 million to Myles Garrett a year. Now that takes away from the offense, which already needed to be spent on. So if you do that, it just makes you an imbalanced team. That's how I feel. That's truly always how I felt. And that's why I'm against Myles Garrett, because I understand Byron Young might not be the sexiest piece in the world, but I'll tell you, Byron Young is a damn good football player, does not get enough respect. I understand Jared Verse is overshadowing him, and I get that, but Byron Young had some really, really good games down the stretch, and I think we should feel really good about his development long term. You also have Jared Verse, like I mentioned. You got Braden Fisk. You got Kobe Turner. None of these guys have been paid their second contracts. So I'm not about to go out, give up draft capital, not fix any bit of the offense, and then pay Myles Garrett all that money when I have to also pay all these other guys. It just doesn't work. So that I just wanted to make that clear. Going back to the beginning, because I don't want to miss out on anybody. SoCal asked, can you do call-ins? I'm not doing call-ins tonight. We'll get back to doing that in some capacity. I kind of like where I'm at right now. I like doing full disclosure because I always want to be transparent with people. I really like doing the mailbags. I feel like that allows me to isolate everybody's questions and I can give you some good responses. The mailbags will continue. Oh my God, long list. Thank you for the 100. Appreciate you. One last question. By all means, you got all the questions in the world. I'll answer them. Rams play a light front and don't value linebackers, thus Barkley destroying us. What is the solution? You're right. They play a lighter front. I think a lot of teams were. And then this season, when you have the Derrick Henrys and Josh Jacobs and now Saquon Barkley, and you have these guys that are getting paid out the wazoo at running back, when running back seemed like a dead position, right? Like, oh, we're not paying running backs. We're using 2-3 running backs a game. Well, that's not the case anymore. I do suspect a pullback, kind of like a market pullback. I expect a pullback. I think teams are going to play more heavier boxes up front. This is the way the NFL works. It's patterns. It's constantly changing. You'll see, that Vic Fangio, Brandon Staley, what the Rams do, the soft shell, all that, the lighter boxes. You'll see that get attacked by these guys. And then the next year, everyone's watching film on who's attacking and how they're attacking, and they're going to change. And this is the NFL. They go through these different, fluctuations. We talk about it all the time. It's a passing league. How is it a passing league? How is it a passing league when you had two running backs that had over 2,000 yards? Oh, well, almost two that had over 2,000 yards. It's not a passing league anymore. It's a more balanced league that is actually bringing back running the football. So I think because of all the different things that, the league goes through and, this and that, in case you guys didn't catch that video, in case you didn't catch the video, let's see, where is my list? I want to make sure I have it in front of me. Let's see, top 10. Nope, that's not it. I thought I had it. I guess maybe I don't have it in front of me. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. So defensive free agents, guys that I think could be an option at linebacker. Cody Barton from the Broncos. Keep an eye on him. He's 29 years old, this November. I think he's a guy that fits really well with the Rams. Athletic, can cover, can tackle, all that good stuff. Then you have Tyrell Dodson, who's an outstanding cover guy. Would he really help you in the run game? A little bit, but not really. I mean, he's kind of weaker in that lane. He's coming from the Dolphins. Nick Bolton, you're going to watch him on Super Bowl Sunday. You saw him last Super Bowl, made a huge play. He makes huge plays every single Super Bowl he's been in. Nick Bolton is a big-time player. He can play coverage. He can play, a guy that can stop the run. He's not afraid to, he's not as tall, but just because he's 5'11" doesn't mean he doesn't have 240 pounds underneath him. So I think he's an option. And Jamie Sherwood, who is small, he's only got 219 pounds. But to your point, I do think they're going to value linebackers a little bit differently this time around. And keep this in mind. If you thought they were, no chance in hell, they're going to, move on from guys like Roseboom and what have you. They just moved on from Cooper Kupp, okay? I think all bets are off. I think they can move on from anybody. That's just the reality of that. So I'm not saying that's what will happen, but just an idea of, that of how that's going to go. So SoCal, to answer your question, and long list, appreciate you. I am not going to do the call-ins for this specific show. I might bring them back in another, episode soon. But really, I like doing the mailbags, and I've kind of just moved on to that. Because I'm a big believer in transparency. And look, like I said, I was going to do the call-ins and then I kind of pushed back a little bit. And now I'm just really kind of feeling things out for the channel, and that's why, it is what it is. But again, I do appreciate, your super chat. Hank, thank you for the 2. Salute to Kupp, but the injuries versus production. Absolutely. Cooper Kupp had an outstanding career with the LA Rams. No one should ever take that away from him. But they also had to move on. Like with that money, they had to move on. They had to do something. And I don't think Cooper Kupp, as much as we would have loved to see them rip up the deal, I don't think Cooper Kupp was going to allow them to rip up the deal. I think Cooper Kupp knew, I got to get this money. He wasn't going to rip up a deal and take $10 million or $12 million over 1 year and get rid of all that flexibility and that, security. So I think that's what it came down to. And I understand both sides. It's a business. Cooper Kupp's already getting paid, $29 million cap hit. There's no reason for him to feel like he needs to get rid of that money. He earned it to get that contract. Maybe he hasn't lived up to it, but that's not how athletes think. And the Rams had no reason to feel like they had to pay that when he's, he hasn't been the best receiver on the team. And so it's tough. It is what it is, but appreciate that. Ruiz, thank you for the 2. We'll miss the Triple Crown. I agree. When is Miles talk BY first equals 95? I would be against it. I'd be against it. I understand, some people are going to be really quick to want to cash in Byron Young. And I would just say this. Byron Young is cost effective. He is on a rookie deal. So is Kobe Turner. So is Braden Fisk. And so is Jared Verse. That allows the Rams to do a little bit more than maybe they would be able to, especially with a gigantic contract expected to be on the books as it currently is with their quarterback, right? They don't have a rookie quarterback. They don't have a rookie contract quarterback. That's what allowed them in 2018 to do what they did. They're able to go out and get Ndamukong Suh and Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. How do you think they're able to afford all that? It's because Jared Goff hadn't been paid yet. Once they extended Jared Goff, what happened? 2019, they missed the playoffs. They weren't able to bring back guys that were key cogs to what they were doing. Roger Saffold out the door, right? Ndamukong Suh's gone. And when you felt that when he was on Tampa, that hurt. But again, this is what we're talking about, okay? There are things that seem good, but they're better in Madden than they are in reality. And trading away BY and a first-round pick for Myles Garrett doesn't make any sense. Because Myles Garrett might make you better on the defensive side. He will. He will make you better. But now you have to pay Myles Garrett because he's not coming over and not getting paid. So then, think about this. How much does BY make? What's his cap hit right now? I'll tell you exactly. Right now, his cap hit is $1.5 million. So you take his very cost-effective cap hit of $1.5 million in 2025, and you add Myles Garrett's 29 or 28 or whatever, you're still paying Cooper Kupp, whether you trade him or not. You're paying about $17 million. That's just dead money. So you can't afford to just add, Garrett Wilson and not Garrett Wilson, Myles Garrett. And then on top of it, think about this. You add Myles Garrett's $28 million, you trade away BY's $1.5 million, and then you also trade away a first-round pick, which that is a double whammy, and here's why. Because not only are you trading away, a cost-effective player, a third-round, outside linebacker for Myles Garrett, who again would be insane with Jared Verse, but now you're paying Myles Garrett as if a rookie just had to get paid. But in addition to that, you're losing a first-round pick that is cost-effective. So you're really screwing yourself twice when you think about it. That is the thing you have to take into account with trading for some of these guys. That is something I take into account when trading for Garrett Wilson. But do you know why I'm not stopped by that? Because Garrett Wilson would change the offense. The defense is still, in my opinion, going into 2025. They bring back Keller, they bring back Bobby Brown, they bring back Hoyt, and let's say they bring back Roseboom. Even still, they would still be a top 10 defense. The way they were playing at the end of the year, they'd be really, really good. The offense without Cooper Kupp, if they didn't go and replace him with somebody significant, that offense would not be top 10. And the reality is the offense needs to get back to where it was, or we're going to have a serious problem. And they're never going to get over the hump again. They're never going to win another Super Bowl if their offense continues to play at this level. So it's that simple. It always has been that simple. And that's what I would say about that. But that's why I'm absolutely against the Myles Garrett trade. Like, I would not even think 2 seconds about it. It's an easy no for me. And I understand the player he is. I totally understand. It's why I say it about Max Crosby. Love Max Crosby. Interviewed Max Crosby before he became the Max Crosby But guess what? Max Crosby doesn't make a lick of sense. You're going to pay him a ton of money. He is not as good as Myles Garrett, as much as I love the guy. He's not. And now I'm getting rid of cost-effective guys and I'm getting rid of draft picks that keep my cap intact and allow me to do what I do. No, it just doesn't work out. Let's see here. We got Jordan Phillips. How we doing? If you can pick any realistic wide receiver, who you picking and why? Any realist? I mean, I'm going to say Garrett Wilson. Sounds like he's going to demand a trade. I would trade a first and a third for Garrett Wilson. Very reminiscent to what the Titans traded away, what they got in return for A.J. Brown. The Eagles traded for A.J. Brown. They gave up a first and a third. They've been to two. Well, wrong. They've been to two Super Bowls since they traded for A.J. Brown. There's a reason for that. Okay. And Howie Roseman is very similar to Les Snead. I could really see a Garrett Wilson trade. He's got familiarity with the offensive coordinator in Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur, he really appreciates. He even said so after he played the Rams. He said at the podium he was going to give him a call. Garrett Wilson with Puka Nacua would give you some of the craziest, spectacular catching known to man. But it's not about that. It's about the route running. Both guys are great route runners. Garrett Wilson's one of the best route runners I've ever watched. He's outstanding. And he's had 1,000-yard seasons in 3 straight years. Whether that was Aaron Rodgers going down with a torn Achilles, he had a 1,000-yard season with all sorts of quarterbacks. He had a 1,000-yard season with guys, like not just Zach Wilson throwing, but Mike White. Right. So this is a guy that tells me, regardless if it's Stafford over there or rookie, I can trust Garrett Wilson long term because he just gets results. He's outstanding after the catch. He'd be a perfect fit. Absolutely perfect fit for the Rams. So Jordan, great question. I'll take Garrett Wilson. I think I already answered that. The Barkley question, which was great. Oh, you have another one. My God, W's all around. 25 from Long This. Appreciate you. One more. Where do we play Luka? Booyah. Oh, so you're a Lakers fan. I wonder if I must know you. I must know you. This is kind of wild. But anyway, Luka is the point guard. It's now Luka's team. And LeBron wants to hitch a ride to it, so I'm okay with it. I'm all for it. I love the Luka trade. It again, kind of bittersweet moment. Cooper Kupp moving on, feeling good about the future, knowing that they have to. Moving on from Anthony Davis, who's going to be 32 years old, getting Luka Doncic, who's 25. I understand it's going to sting at first. It doesn't make him very balanced. Defensively, it's a nightmare, but it'll work out. I mean, I never thought it was possible. I woke up. Alexis actually called me at midnight. I woke up and I just thought I was in a dream. You know those dreams where you win the lottery and then you wake up and you didn't actually win the lottery? I woke up and I was like, oh, holy shit, this is real. So I was on cloud 9. I still don't even buy that it's real. I feel like I'm in some simulation. I'm going to find out Luka's still on the Mavericks and I'm just losing my mind slowly but surely. But I'll have fun with it while I guess it's reality. STVN, thank you for the 5. There's no Puka Nacua without Cooper Kupp. He was so valuable even off the field, and I feel like not having that chemistry will hurt. I totally know what you're saying, but here's what I'm going to say. I agree. Puka Nacua probably doesn't end up being the receiver he is without Cooper Kupp, and that's probably true. That the same could also be for Stafford and McVay. So is it fair to say the people surrounding, like the support system with the Rams have surrounding Puka Nacua led to Puka Nacua's ascension? Certainly possible. I also don't want to take away from who he was coming out. We just missed it. I liked him a lot when I was watching Jaren Hall tape. I never got around to making a full profile on him, and there are not many things that I regret. But to this day, I do regret not making that profile video on Puka Nacua because I had my notes and everything already, and I never made it, and I really liked him. But regardless, I can't take back the past. What I can say is this. Puka Nacua is grandfathered into who he is. What do I mean by that? This is who he is now. Everything he learned, you can say he would have been different in a different situation. I'll say the same thing about Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady going to any other team would have been what he ended up being. I don't. I say it to this day. It's why I always, clap back at people that say Belichick was trash and it was all Brady. No, Tom Brady doesn't end up being Tom Brady without Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, out of only 2 seasons Brady was in New England, had a top 10 defense in every single season except for 2. Okay, so not for a second do I believe Tom Brady would have been replicated in another organization. Now, am I going to say Puka Nacua wouldn't have? I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think he was a really good player, but maybe not at this level. And so I do think people around him helped, but I don't want to say it was all Cooper Kupp. I think he's valuable. I do, but I also think what he did is going to have a lasting impact moving forward. I think it's going to have a lasting impact on guys like Jordan Whittington. I think it's going to have a lasting impact on some of the younger tight ends. I think it'll have a lasting impact on Puka Nacua. So you already get those benefits, and that's just the reality of that. I don't think Cooper Kupp being gone is going to kill Puka Nacua's production. I just don't believe that. Also, Cooper Kupp wasn't on the field as much as he's been in years past. So Puka was still doing his thing without Cooper Kupp on the field. So I just think Puka has just gotten to the point where he's just going to do what he does regardless of who's there or not. I think he's just a damn good football player, and he's got a crazy rapport with Matthew Stafford that'll go a long way. Doesn't make it any less sad, but hey, it happens, man. Ruiz, LA Rams. Appreciate the 2. Great point. But if it does get done, positives. I'd say I like that. You're saying, okay, I appreciate what you just said, but let's talk about it. Like, if Myles Garrett is a Ram, are there positives? Yeah, I mean, you'd be talking about one of the best pass rushers to ever play the game, in my opinion. Just an absolute unicorn, and you'd be putting him with Jared Verse, and I just don't know what a team would do. I mean, I do know what a team would do. They would become the teams, anytime they played the Rams with Aaron Donald, dink and dunk. They get rid of the ball quickly, and then you would need to spend on linebackers. Now, could you, now that you got Myles Garrett? No. And you also wouldn't have a first-round pick, and you wouldn't have a second-round pick, and you might not have a third-round pick. So there are some things that you kind of have to go through. But I like Byron Young, and I'll defend him. And I just think, again, cost-effectiveness over just spending a lot of money on a guy that you don't need all day. I understand he's a star, and you can kind of you could recalibrate your team. I'm not saying you couldn't, but I just think that there are too many things where you get Myles Garrett, and now your offense struggles and suffers because you didn't spend that on the offense. And then you trade away the picks that maybe you could spend on the offense that you can't now. So, I mean, the positive is that Myles Garrett and Jared Verse would be the best duo of pass rushers that we have seen, and maybe ever. I mean, I don't want to say ever, but it'd probably be, because I'm going to be honest with you, I think that's better than Aaron Donald and Von Miller. Like, I don't even think it's remotely close. I mean, I love Aaron Donald, but you get Myles Garrett and you get Jared Verse, that's better than Aaron Donald and Von Miller. I'd say that would be the best since Von Miller in his prime with DeMarcus Ware, baby. And probably even better than that. I don't know, man. You give Myles Garrett to Jared Verse, like, I mean, that would be crazy. But anyway, AZZA, appreciate you. Late to live. What did I miss? Well, we talked about Myles Garrett because that came up and why I don't want to go after him. We talked about Cooper Kupp. He is not demanding a trade. The Rams are basically telling him he's being traded immediately, and they're going to work with him like they did with Jalen Ramsey to get him to a location. I think this is very similar to Ramsey, except for the fact Ramsey is a lot younger, or was a lot younger when he was traded. And Ramsey was coming off a really good year. And the Ramsey thing was more so, I think the Rams felt guilty in a sense, like they put themselves in this position and they realized they had to get themselves out by trading away Ramsey. Whereas Cooper Kupp, I don't think the Rams are put into a position. Could the Rams theoretically go through 2025 with Cooper Kupp? Yes, but this is the smart thing to do because you maximize your cap. And now by maximizing your cap this year, you can go out and address other positions of need. And I think that's important. So I agree with this. Whether it's painful or not, it's always going to be painful, man. How did you think I felt when they, cut Todd Gurley? I wanted to wring someone's neck. I mean, I love Todd, but part of me knew that was probably the right decision. I didn't want to believe it, but I kind of knew it, Mark, appreciate the 10. But what's the play at quarterback now? I don't see final runs with Stafford anymore. Don't tell me Wilson, LL McVay. I see resetting this whole team for a seeming bust. Arch Manning, Josh Allen, Burrow. Mark, this has nothing to do with Matthew Stafford. Like, Stafford will be back. I have no doubt about it. I can't stress this enough. Stafford has played with a wide receiver that retired early in Calvin Johnson. He's played with Brandon Cooks. He didn't play with Brandon Cooks. He played with Robert Woods. He played with Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, right? By the way, Marvin Jones, was he not available in free agency when the Rams brought Stafford over? He was. Did they bring Marvin Jones over? No. Kenny Golladay, was he available? Yeah. Did the Rams bring him over? No. Stafford has loyalty. I have no doubt about that. But Stafford isn't one of those guys that's like, I need my guys. Okay, he's not LeBron James. He's just not LeBron James. LeBron James wants everybody around him that he loves. Like, he brought over Anthony Davis. He didn't give... He brought over Kevin Love with the Cavs. He didn't give Andrew Wiggins a chance in hell to earn that job and be a part of that team. Okay? LeBron James brings people over. He is very much in control of the GM. Stafford lets things go the way they are. I think he puts his input in it, but Stafford isn't out there playing the GM. Okay? He's just not. So, I'll tell you right now, I mean, that's how I feel. Stafford, while there's loyalty there, he's not going to force the Rams to get this guy, and this guy. He's not going to say, if you don't bring back Kupp, I quit. He's not going to do that. Golden Tate's another one. Exactly. Golden Tate was available. The Rams could have gotten him. Nope, they didn't. That's not who Stafford is. I mean, I don't know him personally, but just seeing how things have gone down with him, I mean, it makes sense. Along this, thank you for the 25. My grandson is the only ginger I know, but you are still good. Hey, appreciate that. He's only one, but he has multiple Rams jerseys. Damn, I got multiple Rams jerseys. We got two right in the shot. You just can't see the Kyron Williams jersey behind me. I got the Stafford jersey over there. I got the Kello jersey there. Yeah, I got a lot of Rams jerseys. I just don't wear jerseys as much anymore. I pretty much wear T-shirts, mostly plain T-shirts, cardigans, those quarter zips, those golf quarter zips. I'm a sucker for those. I got so many of those. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much, yeah, I never wear jerseys anymore. I have so many. It's disgusting. But my favorite to wear are probably basketball jerseys because I like the tank top, but I never wear those anymore. Although I need to get a Luka one, but I need to know, okay, yeah, he's the future. That's what we're hearing. Rob Pelinka, you look like a genius now. You better secure Luka to a long-term deal. If you think I'm going to get a 77 jersey without a long-term deal, you are out of your gourd. Because I am not spending money on a jersey after they trade away Russell Westbrook. I got the Russell Westbrook jersey. He's been my favorite non-Laker forever. They go out and get him. Got the jersey. He was traded a year after. Like, I just, no. I want a long-term deal. I will not get a Doncic jersey until I have a long-term deal. Should the Yankees get Kupp for right fielder? Well, at this point, I mean, they need him at third. They don't have a third baseman since they won't let Jazz play there. Anyway, Christian Perez, thank you for the 5. Does this mean T. Higgins can come to the Rams? It makes it a lot easier for T. Higgins to come to the Rams. I can tell you that much. For people saying it wasn't possible, it's certainly possible. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. Let's go to, let's see, the table here, the calculator, whatever. Let's see if I can bring this up. Can I bring this up? There we go. Okay, so we got over the cap here, calculator, as you can see, kind of giving you an idea. I think visuals help. I always said that, and I always will believe it. So let's talk about this. Okay, so Stafford, we know this is going to be some sort of rework of his deal, whatever. You're not going to touch that because I don't know exactly what the number will be. Let's do Cooper Kupp here. We'll do trade pre-6-1. So now the Rams have $50.8 million in cap space, just like that. So you have that. Then you got Rob Havenstein. You already made the tough decision with Cooper Kupp. Are you going to do it with Rob Havenstein? If you do it with Rob Havenstein, you're up to $55 million. You see how this thing can change? Nopum, unfortunately, don't yell or shoot the messenger, but yes, that $10 million can't be gone. It is void. That means they have $10 million in dead money, right? So you look at this, like Jonah Jackson. Well, this is why I'm like not overly keen on doing this. I know a lot of people just want to do this. This is not really going to help for Jonah Jackson. This saves you about $4 million, but you're going to incur a lot of dead money. And I still think he's got a lot of football left. And it was just a matter of going with the hot hand. You're paying Jonah Jackson, just keep Jonah Jackson. Colby Parkinson, how does that look? Well, you would be incurring 6.6 or 666 or whatever in dead money, but you would get $3 million there. So that would go up to 54. So what are all the things that the Rams can do? Well, let's look. Dotson, you're not going to touch, and Stafford's deal is going to probably be a little bit different. But you look here at Jonah Jackson, theoretically, what you could do is you could trade him, right? You'd be eating a lot of dead money if you trade him, though. You could trade him post, but that wouldn't really help your cap now. So let's do the cut. So you'd be cutting him. You'd save about $3.3 million. I don't think this is an option, but let's keep it the way it is. Then Rob Havenstein. Let's just say you want a whole new overhaul of the offensive line. I guess you could do that. Havenstein would save you about 4.5. You would incur a $6.8 million, dead money there. Then Parkinson, you start to see how it's possible. Darius Williams, and now you're at $65.7 million. Now, this is what I wanted to teach you guys, in case you don't, and many of you probably already know this. This is a lesson. The Rams released, in this scenario, they don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players, all of which started this year except for Jonah Jackson. So while it sounds great about having $65.7 million in cap space, you also have to understand this replaces the players. So you still need to go out and fill those voids. That's why you got to be careful, right? You got to be careful with that. The rest, guys, I'm telling you, there's really not much going on here. Darion Kendrick is a cap cut casualty potential because he would save him about $3.3 million and only incur $33,000 in dead money. That would put them at $69 million in cap space. And, God forbid they do something like this with Higbee, or if they were to trade him, then they'd eat half of it. And you talk about a $73.6 million. So that is how they can get up there. But what do I realistically think? Do you want to know what I realistically think they're going to do? Let's go through it right now. Okay. I'm going to undo all these except for the Kupp. Obviously, I think they do trade him. I don't think he's going to get cut, because if he was going to get cut, I think they would just keep him. So they're going to trade him. They know they have a market. They know they're not going to get a great pick. They are going to trade him. So what does that look like? Well, they trade him. They'll get $12.5 million. That puts them at $50.8. I don't even want to touch this contract because I don't want to put any sort of thing out there. I have no idea what it's going to look like. Stafford will be back. I have no doubt about it. So anyway, you got your quarterback. Kupp getting traded, 50.8. This is what you're currently looking at as soon as this deal is done. Then I think Jonah Jackson is going to stay, despite the fact I think a lot of people want to get rid of him. I think he's going to stay. I'm kind of thinking Rob Havenstein could get cut or traded or whatever. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Parkinson might get traded here, and they take $5.6 million. So a cap hit there of, now you get $56 million in cap space. I just want to do this at this point because it's just annoying seeing that. So you have $56.5 million. I also think Darius Williams is going to get cut. I just do. So it would put you about $60 million cap space. I think Higbee stays. I think they roll with this. Havenstein, I'm really kind of iffy on whether they keep him or not. I think they keep Jonah. But this is really what I expect, and I also think they cut Kendrick and save $3 million. So really, I think the Rams are going to have around $60 million in cap space. That's what I think. I don't think it's realistic to cut really anybody else here. This is what we call cost effective. Look at these cap hits. $3.3 million to a starting safety in Quentin Lake. This is why you don't trade for Myles Garrett when you don't need Myles Garrett. It's very simple. Because looking at these cap hits, do you see this? Kobe Durant, starting corner. I gave him at $3.4 million this year. Cam Curl, $4.7 million. This was such a deal. You guys don't even realize how much of a deal this was. Kyron Williams is up there because of the increase. So there is a performance accelerator. And since he's been a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher, his performance boost made him a $5.2 million guy this year. So that's interesting. Higbee's 8.7. You could say that's a lot. Maybe there's a restructure, something, use void years, what have you. Whatever. You could. I think they'll leave it alone. And by the way, remember what we were all saying Cooper Kupp needs to restructure last year? Saying, oh, they need to restructure Cooper Kupp. Remember we were saying that? Well, guess what? They had restructured Cooper Kupp. Do you know how bad this contract would look right now? I mean, his cap hit could have been like $35 million. That is why they didn't restructure Cooper Kupp, because teams think ahead. If they had any idea or had any possibility that this could end up happening, they were not going to restructure him. They were going to leave that contract alone. And this is what it allows them to do. It might look like it stings, but I'm telling you, it helps a lot more than you realize. So that's that. The itemized dead money here. They're still paying Aaron Donald $9.6 million. That's annoying. It is what it is. It doesn't have Noteboom here, so they're paying $20 million in dead money as it is, and then you add Cooper Kupp, and that would put him at 17. So they're paying about $37 million in dead money. But now look, so you have $63.6 million based on this, and this is what I think is realistic. Before anybody says anything, you could absolutely trade Colby Parkinson. I'm not saying they're going to get a freaking lion's share of picks, but you could trade him for a 7th or 6th round pick, and I think a team would bite. He's a young 26-year-old tight end. They could also keep him. I'm not saying they don't. And Darius Williams is going to be owed that bonus on the 5th day of the NFL season. So I do think they are going to cut him at age 32. I do think that. Noteboom here, this is just a visualization because it's $10 million that they can't do anything with. It's void. It is what it is. That's the good and the bad with void years. The good is that it allows you flexibility in the short term. The bad is that it hurts you in the long term. And then I don't think they touch these contracts. Havenstein, I think, has more of a chance of being cut than Jonah Jackson, if you ask me. And then these guys, this is what I mean, though. When I say they're cost effective, dude, you got Kobe Turner. All right, let's do the math here. Byron Young, 1.5. Kobe Turner, 1.4. Braden Fisk, 2.1. And then Verse, 3.4. So your defensive line, your starting defensive line will just round. Okay, so that's 3. So let's do 3, 5.1. And then what's Verse? 8.5. Dude, your defensive line, it costs under $9 million a year. Like, that is why the Rams are so scary. It's why people are actually really concerned, because if they go out and they get their quarterback behind Stafford and they start trying to do, say the Jordan Love, this is going to be a problem. Like, this is going to be a problem. This team is going to be really good because they rebuilt on the fly and nobody wants to talk about it. This is what we're talking about. I mean, this is good stuff. Now, these guys, there are going to be guys in free agency, but let's just say you add a Kello, this is just for show. So let's just throw a 7 there. Still got $57 million. And this is just, I'm putting 1 year. Obviously, I think it'd be longer than a 1-year deal. Alaric Jackson, let's just say, you give him 18. What the hell is that? Give him 18 on the... All right, we're just going to do this. This is just for a placeholder. Okay. You still got 40.3, and you've brought back your left tackle. You have your starting corner, right? How about Michael Hoyt? We'll just say, I don't know. We'll give him 4 here. Maybe 4.5. 36. And then where's Bobby? And Bobby, you give, 4. You got $33 million to play with. And keep in mind, it's not... This is just like placeholder numbers. You can mess around with the cap number. You can do different things. They're probably going to put some... I mean, they already have done it. They're probably going to put some void years. Maybe you void year, in 2027 or 2028, and it, keeps this cap number down in the short term. They're going to do stuff like that because they know that their time is numbered with Matthew Stafford. He's not going to be around forever. So those are some things that you can do, and you got everybody that you need back. Roseman will probably be $5 million. So if that's too rich for your blood at that point, you move on. And guess what? I feel good about this. Then let's just say here, you go out, you get your backup here in Zach Wilson. Okay, what's he going to cost? I mean, he's not going to cost much, right? What would Zach Wilson cost? He didn't even play last year. So we'll just put 2. There you go. $32 million. You got your backup quarterback. Then you got, who's a good example here? Let's go with, I don't know. And again, placeholder numbers. This is not ironclad at all, but placeholder numbers. Let's just say they add Cody Barton, right? Good fit, played in the Fangio scheme, all that, like whatever. Okay, so let's just say here you put Cody Barton in, and we'll just say like, yeah, he's about $5 million. Now you got $28 million left, right? Now, keep in mind, effective cap space. So you don't have to keep like a ton of money here for draft picks because the amount of salary cap that it takes for a draft class, that is going to all those guys are going to replace somebody on the roster. Okay. So you have to think about that. You're not going to be paying so much to these guys. Plus, you don't have a second round pick. So your draft class might not even cost that much to begin with. So think about that. So let's just say they go after Palmer, right? Not Carson Palmer. Good Lord. You could actually sign Carson Palmer. Come on, I can't be the only one who finds that funny. Let's say they get Palmer first year. He has a $5 million cap hit, right? Not $8 million, $5 million. Now you got $23.8 million, right? Then let's just say this. I don't know how we do this. Can you trade? I don't think you can like trade anybody. Because otherwise I do Garrett Wilson, but like I don't know how you even do that. Okay. I mean, these are his numbers. So we'll just put this on the books. You trade for Garrett Wilson. Now look. So now you get Garrett Wilson, Josh Palmer, Cody Barton, Zach Wilson. You brought back Bobby Brown, Michael Hoyt, Alec Jackson, Akella Witherspoon. This isn't even the draft. You have all this stuff taken care of. And you got $21.3 million in cap space. But I see some of you don't want Palmer. That's fine. So you say you traded for Garrett Wilson. It cost you a first and a third. You still have your third round pick, from losing Raheem Morris. You can do some other things as well. So let's just say, yeah, that's how that looks. So automatically, this is a better team, right? I would say so. I don't see how it's not a better team. So what do you have left to fill? You brought back your corner, right? You could draft another corner. You got Kello. Well, let's just go out and, I don't know, let's get Nate Hobbs, who's not going to cost much. Nate Bobbs. Awesome. So that would be like, that'd probably be the base salary. Maybe we'll do that. And by the way, base salary, I'm just throwing this as again, placeholder. I'm not getting into the guaranteed and all that. I don't know it, and I don't care to make it up. So the whole point is this number. That's all I'm trying to show you guys. So boom. Now you got a good corner that can play alongside Kello and Kobe. I'm going to sneeze. My favorite thing ever in the world. Ask anybody who loves me. Love sneezing. I honestly wish I did it more. Anyway. Obvious sarcasm. So Nate Hobbs, right? You got all that taken care of. Well, so you got Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Jordan Whittington. You got Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and whoever else you want to bring in at running back. You got Zach Wilson backing up Stafford. Tight end, you got Tyler Higbee. You moved on from Colby Parkinson. You got Davis Allen. You drafted tight end, right? In all likelihood. Offensive line, you brought back Alaric Jackson. You keep Jonah Jackson. You have Steve Avila. You got Kevin Dotson. You keep Havenstein. You got Bo Limmer. Feel good about the offensive line. Probably draft some guys, whatever. Defensive line, okay? Pretty much the same, right? Bobby Brown's back, all that. So you feel good about your defensive line. Your linebackers, Omar Speights, Cody Barton. Boom. Barton would be totally fine. Very good athlete, by the way. Then the secondary, your corners, Ahkello Witherspoon, Nate Hobbs, Kobe Durant. Feel great about that. Your safeties are stacked. No one's sitting there worried about Q Lake or, Cameron Kinchins or Cameron Curl or Jalen McCullough. Where would the Rams have to go? Theoretically, based on what I just said right there, where would the Rams have to go if they did all this? This isn't like crazy. This offseason consists of them picks, one trade, getting a value corner, a value linebacker, a value backup quarterback that could potentially grow into a starter and has familiarity with your offensive coordinator, bringing back your run plugger in Bobby Brown, Michael Hoyt, who can play special teams, and of course on the defensive side, Alaric Jackson keeping your left tackle in-house, and then your starting cornerback, Ahkello Witherspoon, who's playing just about as good a football as anybody down the stretch. What does this need? You could add somebody, but do they need anybody else? They don't need anybody else. You want somebody. That's the thing that I look at. I'm like, they don't need to make a ton of moves. They make that one big trade to help their offense, and they're good. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, the offense should be the focus. Now, let's just get a little crazy here. Let's just say I think he'd be a really good fit. Some people disagree. Well, I disagree with the people that disagree. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's go with a big name here. No. I'm going to go with the guy that I think makes a lot of sense. We're going to go with Rachaad White here. You add Rachaad White. That's his current contract. Boom, it's on the books. $20.9 million still in cap space. Okay? So you went out, you got your linebacker in Cody Barton. You could draft somebody, whatever you want to do there. You got a really good corner, Nate Hobbs, underrated. Garrett Wilson's a superstar. You got him with Puka Nacua. You went out and you got a pass catcher that's going to create a new dynamic for your running back room. He is a stellar pass protector, stellar pass catcher, Rachaad White. So this is a better team. I don't care what anyone says. If you want to add somebody else, you can. You got $20.9 million, but you also have to be aware that you still need that money for the draft. Not a ton of it, but you still need the money for the draft. You still need the money to make moves throughout the season, whether that's just straight up trading somebody, picking up somebody, claiming somebody, or taking somebody off the practice squad and moving them as an active guy. Kareem, Sean Tucker would be a perfect fit too. Either one of those guys. So I just don't think they'd trade Tucker. I do think they might trade White. So what else can we do? I know. Let's just go out and let's get Wills. Let's shore up our offensive line. I don't know why this says so many, but we're just going to give Wills $2 million here. Okay? Look at that. 19.9. And we just got Jedrick Wills. First round pedigree, all that. So I got $19.9 million left to go. Again, this is all placeholder stuff. I'm full aware. Please don't put comments like, well, that's not really realistic because you did this, this, and this. I know. But it actually is realistic because for the most part, this isn't that far from what could happen. Who's sitting there and being like, oh my God, Cody Barton that's going to be so much money. That's way too unrealistic. How is it unrealistic to get Cody Barton at $5.1 million? The point is that they have a lot of flexibility here, folks. And I didn't do much. I just moved on from Darius Williams. I moved on from, Noteboom was already moved on from. I traded Colby Parkinson for a cheap pick. And then I traded Cooper Kupp, which is what they're going to do. That's it. Oh, and I cut Darion Kendrick because he was $3 million against the cap, which you could sign him back. This is possible. This is not an off season that would make so much Like this isn't a Madden offseason. This is not hard. Garrett Wilson has already been linked to requesting a trade. Everyone around the league believes he's going to do so. And the Rams are the best fit, in my opinion, because he loves the offensive coordinator. He'd be great in the Sean McVay offense. He'd play perfectly next to Puka Nacua. And the Rams have already shown in the past that they're not afraid to pay their wide receivers at the same time. Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods. That would be a fit there. And why are you able to do this? Because you drafted well. It's that simple. Why are you able to do this? Case in point, you drafted well. You knew what you were doing. You had the best 2 drafts the last 2 years of any team in the league. Think about it. Kobe Turner, now you don't have to spend so much there, right? So Kobe Turner, Byron Young, a 3rd rounder that you hit on. Now because you hit on him in the 3rd round instead of the 1st round, he costs about $2 million less than, say, Jared Verse. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, and I understand this isn't the most sexy looking off season, but you know what? If you gave me this, I'd take it in a heartbeat. I think they'd win the Super Bowl if they did this. I actually have no doubt in my mind. You give Garrett Wilson and Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington, you give them the opportunity to start, and then you could draft whoever. Work with Matthew Stafford. Draft a tight end. Maybe you don't want to draft a tight end. That's fine. So what are you going to do there? Well, maybe you just go out and you're like, all right, we'll trade for Kyle Pitts. And you're like, well, we have $19.9 million. Let's just do the last thing. We'll get Kyle Pitts at a crazy 10.8 cap hit, and we'll love it because we just think he's just on a different level. You know? Like, and you eat that money, and guess what? He's not going to cost that much in the terms of picks if you eat $10.8 million in 1 year. You could also draft a tight end. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility either. So there are a lot of different ways the Rams can go. They can go the bargain bin route. They can go, F them picks. They still got money. Let's talk about it. I mean, they still got money for Jamie and Sherwood if they wanted to go crazy here. Be about, what, 8 million, 9 million? We'll just say 9 million cap hit. 11.7. There are some things that they can do. This is my point in showing you this. It's why I took way more time than I normally do focusing on free agents than I did on the draft. The draft is coming. I'm still going to talk about it. But this goes to show you that there is a lot of potential for this team. Now, T. Higgins with all this is not likely. But if you chose to go this route, you're choosing not to go after T. Higgins. If you go after T. Higgins, you're going to get 1 or 2 of these guys. So when I say he is affordable and they can do it, yes, they can. But unless they get mega creative and they do things that maybe they don't want to do, kicking the can way down the line like they used to, you're pretty much going to cut half of these names down and maybe even more than half of these names down if they go out and get Higgins. Is he worth it? I don't know. If you can get Garrett Wilson, I probably take the pain of trading away a pick and getting Garrett Wilson. That's just how I feel. I think Wilson fits more. I do. And I think he's more interchangeable, and I think he gives you different looks and all that. I think it's really good. Christian Perez, yes. Does this mean T. Higgins can come to the Rams? Yes, he absolutely can. I mean, you have to figure it out and all that. Ruiz, thank you for the 2. Not only that, you think AD wouldn't think twice? Yeah, AD's not coming here. He's retired happily. I don't see him coming back. BYL44, thank you for the 10. Love Kupp. This news sucks, but I understand it. What do you think the Rams do at wide receiver? Bring in Higgins or trade for Wilson? Or do you think they roll with Puka, Whittington, draft rookies, both? I just have had this feeling since it was announced and since he had the podium thing and all that. Because keep in mind, when did the Garrett Wilson news come out? When did the think about this before you answer. When did the Garrett Wilson news come out? It came out not long after the Rams played the Jets, right? That was around the time I remember it coming out. And did he not? I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, but did he not also say that he was going to call up his former OC, who also works for the Rams, Mike LaFleur? I'm just saying, that's when all the news started coming out. This is the logical destination, and the Rams have drafted well enough where you could argue, but Jack, that's what I'm telling you. Wilson wasn't a fan of LaFleur. Wilson admitted that, and he said he didn't appreciate him enough, and even said he kind of blamed his own immaturity on it. And also, I'll tell you, because I covered the Jets for 1 year, that media, they blew that thing way out of proportion. Way out of proportion. The only one that I was told from people that I know that are, of the knowledge of the Jets, the only thing that I was told that was dead on accurate with what the media was reporting was that, what's his name? Oh God, why can I not remember his name? The wide receiver. I can't remember the freaking guy's name. He's on the Browns. Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore, through fit after fit, temper tantrum after temper tantrum, was like constantly barking at, LaFleur. Good Lord, I can't even talk. And that was that. I think both Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson are going to be Rams. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but I currently think that's the direction the Rams go in. If they trade for Garrett Wilson, his cap hit is $3.5 million. It gives them a lot of opportunity to kind of go all in on this year, sign some guys, draft some guys. They will be trading away a first-round pick and likely a third-round pick and maybe more, but that's how you replace Cooper Kupp. As much as I want a guy like Palmer, you don't trade away Cooper Kupp and tell everybody, hey, we got Josh Palmer, it's going to be okay. Not everybody's going to agree. And, you could do the whole I told you so, and Palmer ends up being great. I do believe he's going to be very good. But if you go out and you get Garrett Wilson, that really calms down a fan base that right now seems to be at, they're not feeling the best about trading away a franchise player in Cooper Kupp. And I get it. Great question, by the way, BYL. Andy Sanchez, thank you for the 5. Do you think we have a shot at T. Higgins now? Would love T. Higgins, draft the tight end, re-sign Alaric. I think the corners would be addressed. So, they absolutely have a shot at T. Higgins. They always had a shot at T. Higgins. I think the question is, do you want to have a balanced off season? How deep do they want this team to be? Do they want to focus on star power? Do they want to focus on draft picks? Do they want to focus on free agency? We're all going to find out very soon, but make no mistake about it. T. Higgins is a good football player. The Rams would be very happy to have a player like that, but it has to make sense. If their vision is to improve all over the field, T. Higgins is not an option. If they look at this offseason as, just reload the offense, then T. Higgins is likely a very good option. So we'll find out. But I think Wilson, some people might not want to hear this, although I see Abigail Vickers saying this. By the way, shout out to Abigail for becoming a member. I agree. I think Garrett Wilson's a better receiver than T. Higgins. And getting Garrett Wilson with Puka Nacua and getting him on a $3.5 million cap hit, I'm willing to give up those draft picks if it means I get to keep that much cap space this year. I think it's going to happen. I think the Rams are going to get Garrett Wilson. I keep thinking about it, and everything points to that. Everything points to Garrett Wilson being a Ram. I know I'm not crazy when I say that because it was right after they played. Wilson is singing the praises of LaFleur. And they already signed off, according to Albert Breer last year, they signed off on bringing Zach Wilson and reuniting him with Mike LaFleur. I think they get both Wilsons. I think it's going to be Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson in LA. And I think there's a chance that Zach Wilson will be the franchise quarterback for the LA Rams. I'm not saying he will, but I think there's a chance. Because remember when Baker Mayfield wasn't even going to play in the league again? Remember nobody wanted him except for the Rams? Remember that? Wasn't that long ago? Well, he went from nobody wanting him except for the Rams to having more touchdown passes thrown the last 2 years than any quarterback in the NFL. I'm just telling you. Like, I really think the Rams could turn Zach Wilson into something. And look, are you going to tell me all the talent that was in that draft with Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, only Trevor Lawrence is going to be the quarterback that works out? That might be the case, but do you think it was because of the player or the prospect, or do you think it was because of the team? Because I think we have no reason to trust the 49ers and the way they developed Trey Lance. I don't think Kyle Shanahan ever wanted him. I think he wanted Mac Jones. This wouldn't be the first time that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were against each other on an idea. If you ask me, I think John Lynch wanted Trey Lance. I think John Lynch is the one that forced them to draft Trey Lance. And I think Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, but was too afraid because of all the public perception that was coming out about potentially wanting Mac Jones. And I think that was purposely leaked by the 49ers brass to deter them from picking him. Leaks don't just happen. Things come out when teams want other people or agents want other people to know. So I think the first thing, Trey Lance, never given a fair shake in San Francisco. Who's the head coach? Not who's the GM, who's the head coach? It was Kyle Shanahan. If Kyle Shanahan wanted, Mac Jones, well, there you go. I would not be surprised if he held it against Trey Lance. So that's not an option. Then you look over with, and then he goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Congrats. That's not a great situation either. And then Zach Wilson plays for the Jets. I can already name 2 quarterbacks outside of Zach Wilson. There's 2 quarterbacks that played for the New York Jets organization, have dealt with that media, and have gone on for way better things after being called a bust, after being given up on, both first-round picks, and they went and did something. Geno Smith and Sam Darnold. And I'll add something onto that. Before Geno Smith went to the Seahawks, he was a Giant. He was on the New York Giants. It was his 3rd stop after the Jets. His 3rd stop in total, his 2nd stop after the Jets. Guess what? Sam Darnold. He went multiple stops and then went to the Vikings. And now, Zach Wilson, after going to the Broncos, would be at his 3rd stop. I think he'll be with the Rams. I think Garrett Wilson will be with the Rams. And I think they're about to pull some reverse Uno shit that's going to piss a lot of people off and is going to be a big-time problem for the future. I think the Rams are not going anywhere. Behind Matthew Stafford would be a dream. And I think Zach Wilson's career would be on a whole other trajectory if he was able to get into that offense. And I think the same thing goes for any of these guys. You want to bring Trey Lance over, by all means. I think Trey Lance could do it. And by the way, is there a better story? Think about it. Better story than Trey Lance becoming the starting quarterback, the savior for the Rams post Matthew Stafford after their arch rival traded 3 first-round picks and just gave up on him? I don't think there is. You said Mike is bad? Probably because I hit it. That's annoying. One second. Hopefully that's better. I don't know. I don't think Lance is cooked. I just don't think that he has not had a support system. The Cowboys were a joke. They didn't use him because they didn't want to pay Cooper Rush. That was the most pathetic thing ever. The 49ers were a joke because they spent 3 first-round picks, only gave the guy 5 starts. The audio is dreadful. I don't know what to do, guys. I already tried to fix it. So, no clue. The audio is still cutting off. I don't know. Is that better? Maybe I'll unplug it. How about that? Is that better? All right. I don't know. Why are you listening to me through your Nintendo DS? Come on now. I'm kidding. Anyway, is it not fun anymore? I shouldn't even look at the comments anymore. I get so I'm kidding, of course, but it seems like every time it's like two people have audio issues and then I freak out, and then I find out all these other people are not having the audio issues. So it's like it is what it is. Yeah, so I get feelings. I had the feeling, that the Rams were going to get OBJ even before he was cut. I just had this feeling. I had a feeling Patrick Mahomes was going to be special. Just watching all the tape on everybody, Trubisky, Watson, and Kaiser. I was asked on ESPN radio who I would take out of the three. I said Patrick Mahomes. You don't believe me? My audio of that is on my Instagram somewhere. But I just get these feelings, and I really feel like we're getting close to a Garrett Wilson of the Rams situation. And I do think Zach Wilson to the Rams is also very, very possible here. I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see those two. Call me crazy, and if I'm wrong, I'll own it. I don't care to own it. It is what it is, but I don't know, man. There have been some connections in the past. I would not be at all surprised if Mike LaFleur's connections to the Jets bring over some guys that probably were better than maybe it looked just being in that organization. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Justin Fields is a fit for what they're trying to do, but I also don't think Justin Fields is trying to sign and be the backup for the Rams. Abigail, totally agree. And that exactly why they decided not to restructure Kupp. I was saying this earlier in the show. They said, we're not going to restructure Kupp. We want to leave that contract alone. They had an idea, essentially. They had an idea that they were going to, move on at some point. They had to. Rams, let's go. Thank you for the 5. I will be 100% nauseous the first time I see Kupp in another jersey. Sounds like me when I saw Isaac Bruce on the 49ers while he was playing against the Rams. That pissed me off. My guess, by the way, Cooper Kupp is traded to the Chiefs after the Super Bowl. But that's just my guess. Drew, thank you for the 5. No, Coop. My Shayla. Thank you, Coop. In all seriousness, I believe in Les and McVay. We'll be back next season. Let's go Rams, baby. Yeah, I appreciate the 5. I think it's really kind of unfortunate. Like, Cooper Kupp could have caught that game-winning touchdown, and, if it was going to end, I think it ends regardless if they win the Super Bowl or not. I don't think he's brought back, but it's just kind of a bummer. I think he was really ready to just kind of go all out on that field and win it all. You could see him sliding all over the place and everything. He was great in that last game. But you know who else was great in their last game? Jared Goff, right? Jared Goff was huge. I thought he gave him every chance to win against the Packers in the divisional round of the playoffs. And I just think it came down to the fact they didn't have enough bodies. Donald was hurt. Kupp was hurt. The offensive line was just really struggling. Bobby Evans it was bad. And I was impressed by the way Goff stood in there in the cold in Lambeau against a superior team and gave you something to root for and gave you something where, okay, they might be able to win this game and maybe they shouldn't, but they might be able to. So, yeah. DJ Pompey, I totally agree. There should actually be an incentive to keep your homegrown guys like the guys you draft. I agree. That's what the issue with the NFL. That's the one thing. If you could give me one thing from the NBA that they have over the NFL, because it ain't much, that one thing, the soft salary cap, being able to go over your cap number to keep your guys, love it. The Supermax. Now, they have max contracts. The NFL does not. But if the NFL did have max contracts, what the NBA has is a Supermax deal, which incentivizes you can sign a player for 5 years. You can sign them for way more than what the other teams can do in free agency, the 4-year deal. And the reason for this is because it incentivizes the player to stay with the original team. That's why for Luka Doncic, it was such a gut punch. Okay? Such a gut punch for him to be traded away by the Mavericks, because Luka didn't know this, and Luka would have been eligible this offseason to sign the Supermax $5-year, $300+ million deal, and now he can at best only sign a $4-year deal with the Lakers. So that is the reality of that situation. Then you have bird rights. The NBA does have more things in place, ironically, because it's the league of trading guys left and right, and the draft is meaningless and all this. But the NBA does have more in place that safeguards your team and bringing back your guys, whereas the NFL doesn't give a rip. They just don't. So, you're welcome, DJ. My guy, Alex, what's the cap situation look like for 2026? Because Kobe and Puka are going to get market-setting deals, most likely, and possibly even Byron. So 2026, I'm going to screenshot this just so I don't even need to screenshot. I'll just go back and rewatch the video because this thing's been up probably for 30 minutes or more. So let's go to 2026. I don't know why Jedrick Wills is the only one that was brought back, but anyway, okay. So the 2026 cap would put you at $135.4 million. Cameron Curl, Kyron Williams, Q Lake, Kobe, Kendrick, if you brought him back. Those are your big losses here, okay, hitting free agency. Do you see why the Rams are in such a freaking good position? Like, I don't think people understand how good of a position the Rams are in. If they find their quarterback behind Stafford, they're going to be a freaking freight train. And better yet, here's the incentive for maybe not finding Zach Wilson, right? But finding a quarterback via the draft. Let's say Jackson Dart, because I know everybody's talking about him. And to be honest with you, I tend to go against a lot of the public. Last year, not last year, but I think 2 years ago, everyone was telling me how great Charbonnet was. I didn't dislike him, but I thought he was being overrated. A lot of people said, you know, what's his face? The guy from UCLA this year, who I thought he was really good, but I had some concerns about, and I liked Verse and Chop Robinson more. Latu, you know, again, I understand there were a lot of people that loved him. I went the other way. And when it came down to that draft in 2017, where everyone loved Juju Smith-Schuster and Zay Jones, I wanted Chris Godwin. So I normally don't just side with the consensus here because I think the consensus isn't always right. And I'm not saying I'm always right, but I like to stick to my gut. Well, I feel like we align here at the moment. If I watch more quarterbacks, this might change. But at the moment, we align because I agree when people say, you know, Jackson Dart might be the option for the Rams. If the Rams go after a quarterback in this draft, as long as it's not in the first round, I don't know if I draft in the first round, I think Jackson Dart would be a good fit. Now, what does Jackson Dart do for the Rams? Well, if the Rams get Jackson Dart, let's say in the second round, his cap number is going to be in this territory. And you have that way for 4 years. So let me make this very clear, okay? That is the point to drafting a quarterback instead of finding one via free agency. If Zach Wilson signs a 2-year deal worth $4 million and he balls out, let's say Stafford, God forbid, he goes down with an injury, and Zach Wilson comes out, balls out, Do you think for a second he is going to play the following season on $2 million a year? No. They're going to have to pay him. It's just like Baker Mayfield. Like, although he'd still be under contract, but still, he'd force his way out if they wouldn't pay him. Whereas Dart, you can't really negotiate that until his third year. So that's where, again, it pays to find talent via the draft. It's that simple. If you could find a quarterback that's worth it, you get him on that contract, it really helps. So that's a cap situation, Alex. $135.4 million if they do all this stuff. Let's just get rid of Parkinson, Williams. Nopum is another. Oh my God, dude, this awful. Another $5 million against the cap. Tragic. Oh wait, okay? So you can't. Never mind. That just is. Don't even touch that. Okay, so 117.7 million in cap space, even if you don't touch these other contracts. Yeah. That's true, John. And we don't know if a Kyren extension will happen. To be fair, they said the same thing about Ernest Jones, but let's say they do get a Kyren extension done. That brings this cap number down. Stafford's. Well, here's the thing. I don't think Stafford, and this is something I also want to bring up. A lot of people talk about how, oh, well, if you pay Matthew Stafford, it's going to hurt our cap. Is it? His cap number is $53.6 million in 2026. If it hurts the cap, it's going to be by a little bit. I think he is going to end up doing something to make this be a more friendlier cap hit. I could be wrong, but I mean, it is a massive cap hit. That's the point. Bringing back Stafford doesn't hurt them really in any way. So, yeah. Let's see. I already said thank you for being a member, Abigail. I'm just now seeing that on here, but I saw it earlier. Deb, how we doing? Thank you for the 10. Hey, Jake, I don't understand the cap. Don't we also have to consider that Stafford's contract is going to be redone, which will affect the cap? Yes, we do. This is just without the Stafford deal because we don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe we do something like this, all right? And take this with a grain of salt. I have no idea. When it comes to cap space and all this, I feel like I know it pretty well. But when it comes to like a rework deal like Stafford's, it's so different. It's a unicorn type of deal because it's, accounting for the fact that, he might not play that much longer, right? He's going to retire soon, all of those things. So you're obviously not going to cut him and incur $49 million in dead money. No, you would do an extend or renegotiate. Restructure wouldn't help. But let's just say they extend or negotiate. Like, this is where it gets confusing for me. I don't know these numbers very well. I don't. Like, what's the guaranteed salary going to look like? All this, they can mess around with this. Well, I can tell you for starters, this guaranteed salary is going to go up to probably $49 million, right? And this guaranteed salary is probably going to go up to like $27 million. And then maybe, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so that doesn't really help. It just, yeah, I don't really think it's going to help. I think you just bring him back and that it is what it is. At worst, at best, I think it's this. I don't know what this is compared, because I don't know how this is going to work, but at best it'll free $12 million. At worst, it just does nothing. Maybe there's a little bit more, whatever, but that's how I feel. Yeah. Damn. Crazy live stream. We haven't gone live since the last DTR, if I'm not mistaken. And before that, we hadn't gone live on this channel since you know what. It's interesting, man. Oh, man. Almost 5,000 views. Our concurrent viewers almost hit 1,000 at one point. You guys, almost 500. I must have 500,000. Almost 500 super chats. You guys are incredible. Really appreciate you. $500 in super chats. We didn't have 500 super chats. I'd be talking all day. But yeah, I just wanted to go live. I felt like, one, we haven't gone live in a while. Two, a video didn't do itself, this service, because it's not, this isn't just a news live stream. This isn't just me telling you what happened today. This is me telling you what can happen, what likely will happen post Cooper Kupp. What this is no different than Luka Doncic going to the Lakers. It's a change of the guard. This became Puka Nakua's wide receiver room. Even if it already was, now it really is. So Puka Nakua is going to have to step up and be that type of player as well. Not just off the field, on the field, but also off it. And anybody that thinks Matthew Stafford's gone, I can tell you that much. He's not gone. No, he's not. He's absolutely not gone. I think there's a lot left in the tank with him. And that's just how I feel. And someone said something earlier in the comments section, so I'm going to investigate here. Okay, I didn't really see anything from that tweet, so I'm not going to bother with it, but I'm sure stuff will come out. Look, it is what it is. When you're dealing with human beings, we're inherently flawed for a reason. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was all business. I assume it was. I don't know. But I just don't think for a second that Stafford is going to get traded. I just don't believe that. So yeah, it's not even really worth talking about. It's not happening. Rams would have nowhere else to go. It'd be Sam Darnold and that'd be it. Because, like I said, Zach Wilson sounds like a fun, reclamation project, which he would be, but you don't sign Zach Wilson to replace Matthew Stafford. So, yeah, Puka has to step up and be a leader now. I fully expect him to wear that C on his chest. It's like trading away Anthony Davis. Same deal. Anthony Davis, key cog, won the NBA Finals. Cooper Kupp, key cog, won the Super Bowl. They move on from both of them, both getting up there in age. I think Anthony Davis and Cooper Kupp are actually both 31 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it's one of those things where now you bring in the new guy. We'll see. Could be a draft pick. I think it's going to be Garrett Wilson. I know the Rams have us kind of fooled right now or whatever, thinking, no, there's no way. They're done with F them picks. I don't think they're done with F them picks. I think they knew they had to stop doing that for about 2 to 3 years before they could do it again. But you're coming up on time here for Stafford. You want to win at least one more with Stafford. Don't be surprised they go after Garrett Wilson. And do not be surprised if they get Garrett Wilson. So, what will I say in conclusion? You're looking at the wrong Garrett. It's not Myles Garrett. It's Garrett Wilson to look at. That should be the target. First and third, I think, gets it done. Again, precedent is their A.J. Brown trade. Philly made. They go to 2 Super Bowls since they got A.J. Brown. I'm not against T. Higgins. I just think it's going to be Garrett Wilson and Puka Nakua and Jordan Whittington next year for the Rams. And I don't think they're going to move on from Kyren Williams, despite what some people think. I think it's going to be, let's say, if I were to guess the offense next year, tight end might be a little shaky, but because I don't know, they might do another thing. But I'll go Stafford, Kyren, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nakua, Jordan Whittington, Higbee at tight end, left tackle Alaric Jackson, left guard Jonah Jackson, center Steve Avila, right guard Kevin Dotson, right tackle Rob Havenstein. That's how I feel. Defense, I feel really good about the defensive line. Like, I think they're going to be, I do kind of think they'll bring back Bobby Brown. I don't feel like they're 100% going to, but I think they will try to. Linebacker, Christian Roseman will have to be significantly cheaper than maybe he's expected to be if they want to bring him back. I don't see them doing that. Could also draft one, but if you trade for Garrett Wilson, the draft is kind of out the door. You're not going to get anybody big. So I would say, yeah, Cody Barton just feels like a fit to me. Yeah, I don't necessarily think Nate Hobbs is going to be a Ram, but I think he would make a lot of sense. But I do think, whether it's hopeism or where the hell, I do think a lot more than last year. Last year was more hopeful. This year, I really do think Akello will be back. It might not be a super long-term deal or anything like that, but it's time to pay Akello Witherspoon. He's been huge since they moved on from Jalen Ramsey, filled in the shoes very quietly. So I do think that will be the case. With that said, okay, I am going to do it. You already know the shameless plug. If you're new here, well, you know the shameless plug in general, probably. I want you guys to check out the lounge. If you haven't already, definitely do so. I interviewed Akello Witherspoon. I'm interviewing a Ram tomorrow. Be sure to check out the lounge. The link is in the comments section, in the chat below. And I not only just interviewed Akello, I'm interviewing actors, actresses, voice actresses, musicians, Matthew Stafford's personal chef, all sorts of people, right? So be sure to check out the lounge if you hadn't already. I have over 500 people in here. I am giving away an Amazon gift card once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to get in on the action there, you can do so by subscribing. And I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it. If you do, if you like my content, if you don't like listening to me talk, then you probably won't enjoy it. But if you do, check out this thing right here. That, of course, is my interview with Akello. If you're a fan of metalcore, you like the band Wind Waker, I interviewed their lead singer here. If you like Dragon Ball Z, I interviewed the voice of Kid Goku from OG Dragon Ball, Daima, and GT. And I interviewed, of course, she's the voice of Teen Gohan in the Cell Saga, Stephanie Nadolny. I interviewed Matthew Stafford's personal chef, Chris. I interviewed Ariel Epstein, who's on MLB Network, big time betting, analyst there. I interviewed Paul from Heavy Spoilers. If you guys are Marvel or DC or just film nerds, Heavy Spoilers, you got to check that one out. And of course, I interviewed Lucky Witherspoon, Akello's father, who is a musician. And he tells his story on how he basically turned down the NFL, and it led to him having Akello. Just imagine where the Rams would be if they didn't have Akello and Lucky didn't turn down his tryout to be on the Cowboys. So a lot of cool stuff. And by the way, the lounge is just getting started. So we're on episode 7. Episode 8 and 9 are going to appear very soon. 2 guests tomorrow, huge guests. And one is huge for me personally. And then, of course, the other one is huge because, you're going to know him. He's on the Rams. So that is going to do it. So please be sure to check out the lounge, subscribe. I'm almost at 1,000 and I'm trying to get monetized quickly. So obviously it will help immensely if we can get that sub count up. But really appreciate you guys tuning in, all your super chats, your support, kind words, all that never gets old. And I'm going to keep trucking along with the content. It's not going to stop. Whether people want it to or not. So what we're almost 800 subscribers away from 30,000 on this channel. It's been a vibe, man. And I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. We're going to have a lot of draft stuff coming up. Yeah. Be sure to like the video and let YouTube know that you liked it. We have 214 likes. We have 465 watching currently. So be sure to do that. We did hit over 5,000 views, so appreciate you guys. A lot of fun just talking with you guys, shooting the shit, and also giving you my thoughts and kind of doing all that. But that's going to do it. So appreciate you guys. And again, be sure to check out the lounge, and I will see you guys in the next video or live stream at this point. Later, folks.